Well, speaking of fractions, what do we do with this? I want to isolate y. And the reason why we want to isolate y is because that tells us what the solution of y is. I have an equality. It's a linear equation. Maybe not in its standard form, but nonetheless, it's a linear equation. So we're going to multiply both sides by a number or by something so that y is isolated. So what can you think of that I need to multiply both sides by? How about if I multiply both sides by the inverse or the reciprocal of 3/4? Of 4/3. Again, if I scale one side or multiply one side by a term, I have to do it to the other side as well. That's imperative, so I maintain the balance of the equation. So what is 4/3 times 3/4? Well, I hope you recognize that they're reciprocals of each other, so their product is 1. 12 over a 12, clever version of 1. So I'm left with a 1y equals, how do I multiply that? 12 times 4 divided by 3. I can factor out a little bit of a shortcut. 3 goes into 12 4 times, 3 goes into 3 1 time, so I'm left with a 16. Y equals 16. That's my solution. Kind of slick, huh? Let's look at another example that we can do as well. 9 equals minus 3/5 times x. So our question again becomes, how do we isolate x? And I want a positive x, and I recognize I have a negative coefficient with that. So again, I'm going to look at its reciprocal, negative 3/5. I'm going to multiply it by a negative 5/3. I'm going to put parentheses around it just to kind of help keep it clear. Do it to that side, I better do it to the other. Now, why did I multiply by, I get the 5/3, Willie, because that's the reciprocal and that becomes a 1, but why did you do a negative? Because I remember that a negative times a negative creates a positive, and I want this term on the right side just to be a positive x. So negative 3/5 times x times a negative 5/3 becomes 1x, or just an x. And on the right side, negative 5/3 times 9. Again, I could factor this 3 and this 9 because this is a 9 over a 1. 3 goes in 3 one time. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So the simplification of the left side becomes negative 5 times 3, which produces a negative 15. So my solution is negative 15. And it's all right that it's negative. But my solution to make this original, which I kind of lost there, my original linear equation, the solution has to be negative 15. And I could check it to confirm.